Immortality of the soul. We're going to answer that because you need to know. So, is the soul immortal? Do we somehow go on and live past our death here in this world? That question, in that way, is really the assumption that makes us not be able to understand whether there is immortality or not. In order to answer this, we've got to understand that this goes right to the heart of perception of reality and what controls our perception of the reality that we're in. We think of soul as being something very much like our inner life. That your thoughts and the way that you feel about things, your memories, all of these things that we call ourselves, our characters, the way that we respond to things, our nature, the kind of person that we are. We think of that as our soul, and that somehow we were given this soul, it's stuck inside of our physical body, and that once our body goes, the question is, does that thing still live in some form, somewhere, somehow? Well, that perception of reality is incorrect. It's inaccurate. First of all, we don't have a soul yet. In fact, that's why we're here in this apparently limited place, so that we can learn how to develop a soul. How do you build it so that it goes beyond what we call mortal? Because mortal is the limitation of something inside of matter, right? But the something we're saying is me, my feelings and my character. But according to Kabbalah, that isn't what life is, and that isn't what we are. That something is strictly a desire. That reality is created out of the nature of the desire that we have. And whether or not that desire is a limited one with boundaries or an unlimited one is what determines our perception of whether we live and die or whether we just live and live. But it's not something we already have. What do we have now? We have a thing that we call life. And we define that as, well, I just got it from somewhere, and now I'm going through it, and I'll eventually run out of it. But according to Kabbalah, life is the meeting point between a need and its fulfillment. You see, when we experience something, it's because we have a desire. This is a desire. And it's empty of what's needed. Then it becomes fulfilled, and the point at which that fulfillment, the thing that we want and need, touches that need, that contact point, that's life. That's where we experience everything. It's the difference between a need and its fulfillment. We're already not living in time and space. We're living in a field of forces. And those are the two forces that bring about our sensation of life. And we project everything that we see, including this idea of limitation, based on the quality of the vessel, the thing that holds the need, and the desire that we want fulfilled. What is this that's going into this? So mortality is limitation. Soul and life is something that has to be built. Soul is a desire. It's a particular type of desire that actually goes beyond, allows us to experience a completely different reality, not bound by time and space. Okay, so how does mortal desire bring about perception of life and death? The nature of the desire that we have is very self-focused. In other words, it's looking to fulfill something very limited, and that something very limited is that first idea that we had about my character, my memories, my feelings, myself, me, and what concerns me, as though we were actually some kind of a separated part of reality, which we're not. So this desire already has the a priori assumption that it's separated. It wants something and it gets filled. But because of the nature of the desire, that limited, separated aspect in the way that our desire is constructed, when we become filled, it eventually reaches the limit, like the limit of the glass, the limit of the cup. And once it does that, we can't feel any more life or pleasure. You know what that is. If you're hungry and you get what you are hungry for, eventually you're not hungry anymore. And if you go any further eating that thing, you're going to start to feel sick. So the desire, in a sense, is put out. And the pleasure is put out. And that means there's no life. So our problem is that we have a limited desire. So we already live in a place that is beyond time, space, life, and death. But we don't have any sensation of it, precisely because of that kind of desire. So what's beyond time and space? Out there is a desire that is not limited, because it's not focused the way that our desire is focused. It doesn't have a limited vessel. The trajectory of what it wants is not that its personal vessel be fulfilled, that its definition of life is not limited to a place where that sensation goes out. Its fulfillment is a spiritual fulfillment, or you can say it's a hyperdimensional fulfillment. You could call it a need, but it's not a need. Its tendency, its intention is for everything to be filled with life, because it is life itself and wants to fill everything. This is, the way that we can understand it as humans. And we begin to get sensations beyond life and death and experience reality for what it actually is when we learn how to have a desire that's like that. A desire that always expands and is always filled without limitation. And that's done and built in our life here, in what we think of as between birth and death. It's done here by connecting with others and being so concerned, taking them into account with everything, that our pleasure comes in seeing them fulfilled. Don't think about people, material stuff, others. Let's look at it. Let's look at it back on the level of desire, just on the level of forces. You are a particular kind of force that's in a world that appears to be material, limited by time and space, in order for you to learn how to be like the quality, the timeless quality of life itself. And that's done through connection, at least in the terms that you've got right now, according to the thing that you've got that you want to develop into a soul. You must connect it to others in a form of pure concern for their fulfillment. So all the clues that we got in kindergarten, hold hands, cross the street together, be good to your friends, all of that stuff, that's really true. But not just externally. It has to happen internally. We have to become something that actually is that thing. That allows us to see, feel, beyond time and space, beyond life and death. Because this whole drama of life and death is only here for us to be able to learn that. And if we're here in order to do that, then obviously we can do it. If you want to find out more about the science that this is based on, then check out the link below. And please like, share, and subscribe.